Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me, and the impression that I got from this country is amazing, and I had better have a very good impression because yesterday at the custom they broke my passport, so I'm never gonna leave this country again. So I have to fall in love with it. So let's hope. So you already introduced myself, pretty concise, but very good way. So can I have the thing? How does this monster work? I just click and to go forward and the other backward. But as we've seen, it never works. So it's okay, good. So the agenda today will be talking about several things, as you can imagine, and they are all interconnected. But there is no clear path between them. It's very difficult to link them. It's a sort of net in the end. So we are trying to cover several things in half an hour or a little more, but it's going to be challenging. So who am I? Let's skip all the past and the present has already been said. Just a couple of words about ProJacked. It's a company 2 years ago. We are ready to launch our product now, and we already have some customers, not like 320,000 like SAP, but we'll get there, and in case you want to buy us, I can give you the name and everything. I don't care, you can get it. For 20 million we are set. Yeah, it's pretty cheap, right? Cool, we have a deal here. So, I'm also a professor and I teach digital innovation at IE Business School. I was a student there back in 2004. I'm also a partner in iStarter. The company ProJacked is based in Canada. My co-founder is Canadian. iStarter is an accelerator based in London. We help companies internationalize and go to London. And I'm also a business angel because we see roughly 400, 500 companies every year. And so we pick the best ones, and I personally have invested a few bucks in them. They are all going well, so I'm happy about that. And that's it. I love spending time with my two daughters. Can you please press ask? So starting up a business in general and a digital business, let's again try to make this interactive. What are the elements that I think that you think that can lead to a successful business, or to be considered as a valuable startup for a business angel or a venture capitalist or a company such as SAP, which might want to buy you out? Which are the elements, the cornerstones? Everybody will have a different answer, so there is no right answer here. Try to spit out some ideas.
Great idea.
Great idea. That's usually the first thing that comes into mind, right? Having a great idea. Other things?
Excellent team.
Excellent team, yes.
Maybe to be flexible.
To be flexible. By definition, a startup is always flexible. There is this very interesting book on pivoting. You start with something. Of course, we can have two approaches here. Either, as Tobias said, stay the course. You have this idea, you think it's good, go with that. Or we could say, okay, try with that and get the feedback from the customers. And if you need to pivot a bit, then pivot a bit or very much, then do that. That's the history of Slack, for instance. They started doing something completely different, and then they discovered they had this amazing engine that cross-referenced things, and they decided to go for that little thing, okay, which solved a niche problem, which is in line with what Tobias said. Anything else?
Passion.
Sorry?
Passion.
Passion, yes, having passion. If you don't have passion, you don't have any money. If you don't have passion, you are dead, basically. So you better have a very good passion, because money will come later, in case. So let's put my hat on of a business angel, or the hat of a venture capitalist. The first thing that we see when we decide if investing or not is definitely the team, not the idea. The first thing is the team. So the solidity and the complementarity of skills. It's good if you have 10 engineers, but it's better if you have one engineer, one lawyer, and like a joke. You know, you have one engineer, one lawyer, and a guy coming from a business school. They're very, very good because they complement each other. Then the second thing, most important is the team again, because what we need is not just let's say we had several examples of that. A guy coming from McKinsey, for instance. They're very smart, and we know that they are good, okay? But they're treating their startup as a pet project, okay? Like, okay, I have my stream of business, and then I have this interesting idea in my mind. Let's try and see if it works. The problem with that is that we know as investors that that guy has a huge safety net. So if he fails, who cares? What we want is people that if they fail, they die. Okay, so there is this, you know, motivation or passion to work. So it's better if you don't come from McKinsey. So good news if you don't come from which are very good guys, I'm saying. And the third thing is the team. Again, in terms of resources. And when I think about resources, I'm thinking about the connections that they might have on the one hand, maybe because of their parents, maybe because of their university, whatever, the kind of connections that make them stand out from the crowd. And of course, knowledge is a resource that they might have. Then the other thing, and as you have seen so far, idea has not popped up yet, the market. So which is the size of the market that you are addressing here? The barriers of entry to this market, if it's a question of money, if it's a question of knowledge, if there is a patent that you can protect with that, and the scalability. It's nice, some businesses are very nice when they are tiny, but then when they scale up, it's too complicated for them. Okay, they are not able to. So we already think about, okay, this is like this now. What's going to happen when we scale it up? If it's not scalable, not nice. And then last thing is the idea. Okay, usually we say last but not least. In this case, it's last and least. Okay, ideas are very cheap. I think that if we brainstorm here, we can come up with at least 20 viable ideas, at least. Okay, but as we said before, it's the implementation, the hard thing, and then the resources that you need to get that thing make fly. There is this book from another professor of IE, Newton Campus. Basically, if I don't want to spoil what he says, but if we can summarize it, it's like what's most important is not the idea, but it's the resources that you have that can lead you to have a successful startup. Okay, resources, as we said before, in terms of knowledge or in terms even more of connections that you might have. How to generate them? We could spend a session just on design thinking, but we don't have time to do that. So just for you, probably you know, there is this methodology, design thinking, and you can use that to generate and iterate with customers when it comes to ideas. So you start basically to empathize with the problem that you might have, that companies or individuals might have, and then what you do, you define how you might solve that thing. So you are coming up with a sort of idea, and then you prototype. So you don't build things to last forever. You don't define and polish. Even if it's a software, you don't polish up to the 10 millionth line of code to make it perfect. You make it like decent, and you see some quotes later about this. You make it decent, and you present to a close niche of customers, and you get feedback. And then from that, you build on. Then, when you test, you start again, because you empathize with maybe new angles of the problem, okay? So some takeaways from the ideas, you have to generate as many as you want, because ideas, as we said, are very cheap, so don't fall in love with your first idea. Be prepared to have ideas and discard them. There are plenty of them, you just pick one that you think it's a good one. And you also have to filter the ideas based on the connections that you have. Let's imagine that your dad is in the military, and you have a very good idea on how to make, some red hats or whatever, something that is completely not relevant to the military. Okay, maybe that's an amazing idea, but if you could come up with an idea which is linked to the military, okay, the army, it would be better. Of course, it could be any other kind of example, but think about the connections that you might leverage and try to come up with an idea so you can leverage those connections. Otherwise, maybe you are rowing in a direction which is not efficient for your connections. Pivot if necessary, as we've said, and fail if necessary quickly. Okay, so don't be afraid to fail. I've set up another digital business before. I cannot say that I failed because I didn't lose any money. I lost like 2 months of coding, so it was not the end of the world. I sold it for 50,000, I think. So it was not a waste of time, but it didn't become a unicorn, okay? So I moved along, I moved to next thing. I didn't fall in love, I sold it and that's it. So why the digital marketing? And those things are important for any kind of business. Now let's dive into the digital marketing. Let's see why in digital marketing it's easier for us actually. I'm talking with the head of the startup right now to step in. No. This is the dollar value of total U.S. corporate IT stocks. So IT is relevant, okay, in terms of growth. And then let's see the difference between low IT industries and high IT industries. We see that there is less concentration. This is the market share held by top 20 largest firms. And we see here that there is less concentration in high IT industries, which is good. So there is less monopoly and there is more room for you to step in. And this is confirmed by this, which is the average jump in number of places up or down in rankings from the previous year. We see that low IT industries, they are very stable, completely stable. It's very difficult to disrupt in these industries. Okay, if you want to tackle the Airbus and those guys, or you want to tackle Chrysler, it's gonna be complicated. You can do that, as we've seen with Tesla, okay, but it's tough. Okay, so if you could stick to high IT industries, you see that it's very, very rough, the market, so it's very likely that they can lose their dominance seat pretty quickly, so that's an opportunity for you. Okay?
Excuse me.
Yes?
What's the difference between high IT and low IT industry? Sorry for a stupid question.
No, it's not stupid at all. And actually, it's a question of how do you define the threshold. Yeah. So we could loosely define high IT industry, an industry where IT technology is extremely relevant, but more on the digital side. Okay, because also airplanes are very technological, but they are, and of course also the IT side is important. But it's not like pure digital and untouchable things like Facebook and those companies. So I would classify Facebook and the IT companies as let's say the Nasdaq. Okay, the Nasdaq is IT and the non-Nasdaq is non-IT. Okay.
Would it be easier to define it like the product that those Airbus selling is like the planes? It's not IT.
So it's
exactly.
It's like digital IT and real IT.
What do you mean by
real? It's airplanes. It's something real you can touch.
Yeah, when IT is information technology. Yes. Okay, so and they sell planes. They sell information. Yeah. Facebook is pure information, which actually isn't even produced by them. It's produced by you. Okay, so I would define as IT as anything that is digital.
Yeah, but
okay.
High IT and low IT.
Low IT it means like non-IT. Okay, all of them is the whole market. So let's put draw a line between good guys and bad guys. So this is high IT and low IT. Okay. Hope it's clear. So some enlightened predictions. Let's see some predictions that have been made in the past. I think there is a raw market for maybe 5 computers. Who do you think that said so?
Probably Sam Watson.
Yes. It seems a misquote, okay, but still gets quoted. I know that it's a misquote, but still it's the sentiment that in 1943 they had of the IT world, okay? As we can see, it's slightly outdated, just slightly. There is no need for any individual to have a computer in their home. This is already 34 years later, okay? But still, they are going to the right direction, but still they are, billion of light years from now. And 640 kilobytes ought to be enough for anyone. This is a very famous one also. Was it? It's BEL, I'm quoting it, right? The founder of Microsoft. In 1981, and now we have 2 gigabytes or 4 gigabytes in our own smartphone in our pockets. So why is this? To show that these guys are idiots? Of course, no. Of course, no. Those are brilliant minds of their times. And this is the demonstration on how is it hard for anybody, even if you are the smartest in your industry, to know where the industry is going. In IT, there is such turbulence that it's impossible to make a prediction. But that's good news. That's good news for startuppers, because you catch off guard one of the incumbent and you can become the next SAP. Okay? So, once you decide to whom you want to sell, so business to business or business to consumer, or you want to sell a product or a service, that will define everything that goes downstream. So your business model, if there is a critical mass for funding, if you need to offer some kind of reliability, SLA, service level agreement to your customers or not. If you're Google or you're offering Gmail, it stayed in beta version for years because it hadn't been to be that reliable, because they weren't offering that to corporate customers. But if you are offering a solution to corporate customers, then you had better be very, very reliable. And also the level of customer service that you have to offer, it's defined by this attributes. And also the marketing strategy. So it's different if you go to a B2C product, which sometimes can rely on network effect, which we'll see in a second, or if it's more important for you, because you're offering a product to companies, the endorsement of other companies saying, hey, I'm using this software tool, it's very cool, but you don't need the network effect. So when we talk about network effect, which I'm sure that most of you know, we have a network effect when we have, in this case, a platform, such as Skype, and you have several users, and the likeliness of a user to use Skype is how many other users are using Skype, because if I'm the only guy talking to myself, it's not going to be that useful, right? And you can have a direct network effect or an indirect network effect when you have a platform and you have two kinds of users of this platform. In that case, we have operating system, we have users on the one hand, and application developers on the other hand. So you don't care as a user how many other users there are there. Even if you are the only one, you're fine, okay? In this case, you're not good. In this case, you're very fine. What you want is that you want applications, and the other way around. If you are an application developer, actually, it's detrimental if there are too many application developers if you are an application developer, because you don't want competition, okay? What you want is that you need other users to buy your products. So it's important that we define where we are playing, which is the playground, and once we define that, we decide where to play. Actually, when we had to decide, my Canadian partner and I, which market to tackle, we had 4 ideas, okay, valid, semi-valid ones, and 3 of them involved network effect. And we didn't want to tackle a market that involved network effect, because it's too complicated to push in one of those markets. On our opinion, we couldn't leverage any kind of connections. Remember when we talked about resources, we didn't have any resource to start a huge network from scratch. We didn't have big investment to make some huge advertisement. So we decided, no, let's tackle a market that goes into different direction and goes to corporate. So it's a different thing. We are a seasoned professionals, so we have a lot of connections with companies, so we can leverage that. Funding, okay, good. You can bootstrap, which means that you start with 0 money and you sell a product, you get the money from that product, and with that money you build a better product, and you go round and round. It's good if there is no critical mass that is needed, okay, if you don't have to build a network, okay, that's very good. And if there are low fixed costs. If there are big fixed costs, you cannot go with that. You need to raise some money to start. Then you have the crowdfunding, which could be reward-based and equity-based. In that case, accelerators can help. So go get some accelerators because they have good connections with crowdfunding platforms, and they can help you set up the presentation which is nice and sells well in a crowdfunding. It's no longer the era of let's put this video on Kickstarter and let's get rich. It's no longer like that. It's already late. When you think about something, it's already late. And then, of course, you can get to angels and VC. When you have to approach VC, that's a good book to start the negotiation with the VC, because it gives you the direction and the mindset of a general VC. PowerPoints don't sell any longer. We are not in California, and it's not the 80s or the 90s, okay? So get a product, an MVP, get some metrics, test a little thing, and if it works, then you have something to show. It's not just an idea. It's very unlikely that you get investment with a PowerPoint at this time. Then you have to decide the country of incorporation. I'm not going to enter into detail, but when you have to decide the country of incorporation, the first thing to think is where you reside and where your customers reside if it's not global market. Potential investors, so think already, okay, we're not going to raise money, I'm going to raise money there, so maybe it makes sense to directly set up the business there. Access to human resources, if you think that you cannot manage resources remotely. For instance, in our case, the company is based in Canada. I live in the north of Italy, but our main developers are in Ukraine. So we are okay with that because I can manage a team which is sparse. But in some cases, it's not like that. Some compliance costs, taxes, which are going to be taken into consideration, which entails revenues. But maybe it's too far-fetched when you're starting a startup. In any case, there are some places, such as Delaware in the States, that if it's not an American company, it's considered a bit shady to start up a startup there. So I would avoid Delaware if I were you, even though if it's advised for an American company. And then some country-specific characteristics. So, for instance, Canada and the US are very good for corporate IT. And there are other companies which are, Italy would be good for food, for instance. So if your company is famous for certain characteristics, which might be right or wrong, okay? But it's this aura around a country. Let's leverage that, okay? Let's try to leverage that a little bit. Yes, please.
Is Hong Kong considered shady?
No, I wouldn't say so. It's not that shady, as shady as Delaware. Okay. Especially if it makes sense. So why did you set that in Hong Kong? Because whatever reason. It's not like a random choice. Okay, of course. Legal issues. Think about IP protection when you're starting up the business. Patenting, if you can patent stuff. Non-disclosure agreement with developers. Okay, so don't give up part of your code because they can steal it, as Facebook Zuckerberg could testify. Disclaimers in case you're offering some product that could break up stuff. So you have to consult a good lawyer here. I'm not a lawyer, but just take into consideration that you have to tackle also the legal side. Privacy laws. For instance, in the EU, if you are offering something digital, you have to have this policy on cookies. So it's something that you have to dig a bit depending on what you're offering. And then if it's B2B, you also have to do some contracting there, some service level agreement, and there is some sort of limit here to the limitless of the cloud, because some companies are going to tell you, hey, very good, your product is cool, but I want my servers based in Belarus for whatever reason, okay? So we hear that from our customers every once in a while. But even though at ProJacked we offer a digital solution which is cloud-based, we are already prepared to offer some customized solutions for companies which might want their servers to be based in Ireland, for instance. Then development, you need to understand if you want to do that in-house or externalize. If you do that in-house, very good. I was seeing before that was a guy coding there, so you can do, of course, that in-house, but you could also externalize. When you externalize, think about quality and also price. Okay, so India, generally speaking, is very good for price, very good for price, but unless you're tackling a very definite problem, it's gonna be complicated that you get what you paid for, okay? Generally speaking. East Europe is very good, and that's the reason why we have our developers in Ukraine, because the level of education in this part of the world is very good, and I really believe that because we have our developers there. And they are relatively pricey, but not that pricey as if they were coming from Italy or North America. The technology, something just briefly to consider. Nowadays, it's no longer needed to have a mobile version and in a desktop version, because with the HTML5 you could do that easily with the desktop one, and then with some frameworks such as Bootstrap or others, you could have the thing to adapt to a mobile device easily, and actually without writing any additional line of code, which is good. So you maintain just one thing, not two things, which can be a nightmare, especially when you have few resources. Okay. Then the deployment, the old style of deployment was to buy a lot of racks, and then they died there basically. Now with the cloud, it's good because for startups especially, there are some providers who provide a free tier for them, so it's good. Basically with zero money you start up your business. There are automatic and safe backups. And there is redundancy. Just a note here, as we've said before, you don't know where your data are based. So unless you are really buying a space in North Carolina, and you know that your servers are going to be based there, you don't know where your data are based. So that's a partial limitation to the cloud when we talk about customers who really want their data to be based in a place or not. The pricing, the good news for pricing is that basically you pay what you consume if you are smart enough, okay? If you get distracted, you pay more. But if you are smart enough and you're on top of the thing, you are really buying the CPU consumption, and you're buying the bandwidth that you are using. And the other good news is that it auto scales with your needs. So basically, you have a business which is very small, and you know, I'm not saying that it's going up, doubling every month. That you can keep up with that. Even with regular servers, you could buy a new server every month. It's not a problem. But the good news here is that maybe, let's imagine this scenario that you want to run a Google campaign. Okay, you are expecting a peak in visitors just over 3 days, 4 days, when you spend up the $5,000 that you've put into that campaign. You could program the system to scale up for the needs just to keep up with that data, okay? And then it goes down to the same level as before. So you pay just to keep up with the data processing that you need for those 3 days, which is amazing if you think it was not possible several years back. These are a couple of services that are offered by Amazon, through Amazon Web Services. So if you are not a geek, you should get one. Yes, please?
That's actually probably, I'm just a little ahead asking question. You are talking primarily about infrastructure as a service, right?
Yes.
Have you tried using platform as a service? What's your experience if yes?
No, I don't have a direct experience. Of course, I know what they are, but I don't have direct experience with those.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? So here, if you're not a person who's knowledgeable about what's this all about, then you should get one who is, okay? Because there is something that you have a product or a service to sell. This is where what you need to set it up, basically. Okay, so you need EC2, which are the servers. You need the S3, which are where the files are stored. You need the RDS, where the database is stored, etc., etc., etc. Oops. Then when you go live, it's good news because you survived the development phase. But then you have to monitor what you're doing. So there are some free services. One is Google Analytics, which is very good. Being free, it's amazing. So you can know when people are coming, which is the bounce rate, where they are coming from, etc. So the amount of information is, it's almost overloading. But it's good. Okay, so you can take, the good news is that you have the data, so you can extract a lot of information from there. But it's not just like that. You can you press S, please? Okay. The other nice thing that you can do with Google Analytics is that you can do this sort of waterfall funnel diagram, which is done automatically. So you can know how is the navigation going on on your website. So you know that from organic search, your customers are coming, they go to the homepage, and these are the guys who viewed the blog, and these are the guys who died, okay, meanwhile. So you want to know why they abandoned you, okay? So maybe you can design this page better, you can experiment a bit to make this page better and see if this thing goes smaller or bigger. So you can adapt this. You can, for instance, at IE, we made this experiment of changing the color of the click here for information, and we went from green to purple, and we have a 30% increase in clicks just with the changing of a color, okay? So you can experiment a lot. I'm not doing anything here. Okay, another thing that you could do is the multi-channel funnel. So you could know that single customer that is visiting you has visited you once coming from display advertising, then he went away. Then later he went again through paid search, and then he went away, and then directly stepped in because he reminded about your company and directly entered. And this accounted as the first channel that led to a positive conversion. So considering that your customer is going to visit you through several channels and via several means, you can know which are the means that are more or less profitable for you. So you know that you have to invest in organic search, for instance. So you have to hire a better SEO because it's a very relevant one. But also, maybe if you have money, you can invest more in display advertisement because you know that it's the first step for this channel, which is the most relevant for your company. So again, this is something that you can set up, and it's relatively easy to do, and it can convey a lot of information. Can you press yes? Okay, thank you. This is what we mentioned before. You can experiment. So you can have two versions of the website running at the same time, and the system randomly choose one or the other, and then you can compare over the same period of time which is performing better. So you can choose, and the system actually automatically suggests you which is the best solution for this particular product or whatever that you are selling. Okay, then you have to act. So for instance, you have this the original website, and there are three variances here. So you can see how they are performing over time, and you see that, for instance, the third one is 14% better than the original one. So this one is better. So let's go with that one. Maybe you simply change the color or whatever. Can you step on? So to close, some inspiring thoughts. If you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you're launched too late. This is what we said before in relation to go fast. Be suspicious of any work that is not building product or getting customers. So the blah 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 of a PPT or PowerPoint is not selling any longer. We have to provide some metrics here. I knew that if I failed, I wouldn't regret that, but I knew that the one thing I might regret is not trying. This is Jeff Bezos. And then don't worry about failure, you only have to be right once. Our industry does not respect tradition, and this is true because we have seen how disruptive is this industry, how turbulent it is. So it just respects innovation. Fear is the disease and hustle is the antidote. And then one final lesson from this guy who's definitely a failure man, who missed 9,000 shots, lost almost 300 games. 26 times he has been trusted to take the game-winning shot, and he missed. And this guy failed over and over again in his life, and it's the greatest basketball player of all time. So don't be afraid to fail, and just keep on pushing. Sooner or later you're gonna succeed. Thank you. Any questions, please welcome. And yes, in a second. And these are my 3 contacts for my 3 hats. The first one is a professor of IE, the second is a partner, so if you have any idea, you can come and talk with me. And if you are interested in the product that we are offering, which is a software as a service solution to help companies deliver products, so it has embedded delivery methodologies to deliver projects and doing the project management and the product management. We can talk about it. Please.
There was a word about crowdfunding.
Yes.
As far as I know, no IT products or services were crowdfunded yet.
Yeah.
Maybe you have any examples.
Yeah, there are a few, but you know, usually you can get, because it's very likely that with crowdfunding, especially when we are talking about product crowdfunding, not equity crowdfunding. So with product crowdfunding, you are offering a product, and to build that product, you need a certain amount of units of that product to make the economy of scale to make the business viable. So you need, I don't know, 100,000 customers or 70 customers or whatever. So it's a good, you're doing 2 things. First, you are testing the market. If it's something that you have in mind, it makes sense. And then you're getting sort of the money up front to start the thing. With digital business, usually the barrier of entry is so low that you don't need to go through that channel. Okay, so it makes sense not to go to that route if you are willing to start a digital business. Unless it's something peculiar.
Thank you.
Leveraging the closeness of the microphone.
You talked about so many things, and it's hard to imagine that one person or like 2 persons can do this together. Keep track on when you have some rising customers. So, what is the absolute, like the minimum of the crew size or team size that is able to keep the startup from falling? In modern technologies, all the stuff that needs to be kept track on.
First of all, we have to think that we don't need 15 people to start up a business. Let's say 2, 3 is good. Okay, you don't need a huge crew, but then you need a lot of collaborators. So, for instance, a project, I don't even know how many collaborators we have. I don't know, because I hire people and fire people, and my partner does the same almost on a regular basis. So we need someone who tackled this problem. Let's hire that guy, and then that's it. So you need a SEO, okay, let's hire a SEO, we have it, okay, it's done. Then we need an expert in whatever, a designer. We recently hired a lady from the Philippines who is an amazing designer, okay? So you don't need to be able to do everything, okay? You just need to do the core. And then you need someone who teaches you which flags to look, for instance. So I have a good friend who's a CEO, and he taught me, okay, I will set things up for you, and then I will tell you what to watch to understand if you are screwing up things with your organic searches. Okay, so you don't need to stay constantly on top, but every once in a while have a look at that, because those are warning signs for you. So you don't need to have 10 people, definitely.
Yeah, and you touched an issue that you hire people, but when startup didn't found any investors, so they have to attract some collaborators for free until this idea builds some traction. And you still have to show that you have some customers, that this idea works some. So you still have some core team that manage the technology stuff. And not only going to the conferences and pitching your idea, you need to support your product. So what is the requirements for the modern world for the successful startups? You didn't raise yet. What is the cost of managing the infrastructure in months, because you have to plan ahead.
Yes, it can be very costly, and that's why I'm not 20, I'm not 25, I'm 40. Okay, so and the vast majority of startup come from people who are around age 35, or because you have accumulated sufficient amount of resources, monetary resources, so that you can pay people and you can stay away from your job for 1 year, even though I have 2 daughters. So you have resources to invest in that. That's the good news of being 40-something. But the good news of being 20-something is that your level of expenses is very low, and you can borrow some money from parents, etc. That's the resources we talked about. Okay, so if you can leverage some resources, first resource is your time. Okay, and so what's the cost of opportunity here? You're investing some time, and otherwise, what would you do? You could be hired by a company, maybe a local company, who might maybe pay you peanuts. So, instead of peanuts, you are investing your time. Maybe spend six months. It's nothing. In your life, it's nothing, 6 months. So give it a try, once or twice. Of course, it's different when you really need money to develop your product, because maybe you are not a developer, so you got an idea. So maybe you can have this pay for equity thing. So you are giving up some of your shares, and you find someone who believes in your product or your service, and the guy is working for free. So another youngster probably, but we need to invest his time, because we're talking about time here. And yet, when we talk about digital business, mostly it's time. Then when the product is ready, we are talking about marketing. But marketing, we can do something very, very tiny and experiment with that. With Google, you can experiment. Let's experiment just in Minsk to do this thing. And you invest, I don't know, $500. And you can already, with $500, you can already get the result, understanding what's the value of getting a single customer. And with those metrics in mind, you can approach a VC, definitely. Or a business and say, hey, I don't have millions, I've invested $500 or 1,000, whatever, and I got in return this. So it shows that it makes sense. If we can lower that number of customer acquisition, and if you scale up, then it's viable. Okay? Of course, you are going to invest 1,000 and you get 900 in return. Otherwise, you would do that yourself. If you get more than what you invest in stage 1, with the money that you get, you can keep on reinvesting, and it's the bootstrapping that we've mentioned. But if you get slightly less, which is always the case when you start, you get less than what you invest in advertisement, it's not a big deal, because at least you're showing that there is some traction. It's not that you're getting 0. You invest 1,000, you get 0, bad story, okay? But you get 900, it's still something that it conveys a message that there are people out there willing to. So if you lower the cost of advertisement, and you can do that with economy of scale, that's good. That's really good.
Hello. So you've mentioned a lot of information about how to start IT business. As I understand, when you have IT expertise. So in case if you don't have IT expertise, so you can run only traditional business.
No. Not necessarily. That's exactly what I mentioned. So you have a good idea, you find a guy, a recent graduate from an IT university, the guy falls in love, you want to get rich like Zuckerberg, so everybody wants to get rich, so you have to sell your idea to an IT person. That guy is gonna develop, and you're gonna be the business mind, 50-50, and everybody's happy. Okay?
Yes, but it's general question. But how to start? How to say? How to look for these people? Yes. How to motivate them? Maybe you can give general directions to this.
The motivation should be, I want to get rich. Okay. I don't want to work, that should be the motivation. Or I want to retire soon. Your internal motivation is something that we cannot tell. But the important thing is that you're able to convince someone who is willing to work with you for free, investing his time. That's the first thing that you need to do. So making people fall in love with your idea. People who are relevant for your business. So they could be people who can help with their knowledge, with putting you in contact with potential clients, or willing to really invest their time. That would be the first thing to do. You get an idea. If that is not working, not even in the inner circle of your friends, acquaintances, then move on. Okay, if you cannot understand if that idea is good enough to gain traction from your acquaintances, then ditch the idea. Don't fall in love with it. Let's go with another one, and let's find someone who falls in love. Once you've done that, then let's build the thing, and then you can move forward and forward as we've mentioned. Okay.
Okay.
It's difficult to say how can you have motivation, how to foster your motivation. It's something that should be inside you. Okay. There are two alternatives here. Either you start your own business. Three alternatives. You are unemployed, you remain unemployed or are unemployed. You start your own business or you work from someone else. Maybe with this career path which is already decided. I started working for Accenture, for instance, a company very similar to SAP, and I stayed there 2 years, and I decided the motivation was I didn't envy my boss. Okay, the boss of my boss, I didn't envy the guy. I didn't like the life that he was doing. So, best case scenario, if I remain here, I get like there. Never gonna happen. I have to go do something else. And I did other things. Okay, that should be the motivation. Being uncomfortable where you are. If you're comfortable, then you don't need this. Okay, you're okay with where you are. Yeah, I would. You really need to be committed to the project to make it work, because it's not like, fine, I have an idea, 2 months of development, let's get rich. It's really hard work and spending nights and thinking that you're gonna go bankrupt at least every other day. So it's challenging, okay? And the more you have at stake, the more challenging it is. So it's not an easy journey. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, we have a question in line on the back.
Please, could you advise how to, for example, like you say, if you are not a developer but you have an idea, so find a developer and collaborate together. How can I validate the skills of this developer if I'm not from IT? How can I be sure that he could write the needed code?
That's a very, very good question. Because on my end, for instance, I come from IT, so of course I can know if the guy is good or not. And actually I fired 4 companies before finding the 5th, which was able to deliver what I was expecting. So it's an excellent question, which is an uncertain answer. The thing that I would think is that you might find someone who knows IT, but that for any reason is not willing to step into that path with you, maybe an acquaintance of yours or a friend of yours, maybe more senior, whatever. He has the knowledge, but he's not willing to invest in your idea. But he has the knowledge. So the guy could be the guy who does the preliminary interviews, okay? This will be the first thing. The second thing is, if you talking with people, and this spaces like this one, they are amazing places to exchange ideas like this. So you know, okay, I need this. Someone could advise you, okay, a good way of developing what you think is using language, whatever, okay? Because it's trendy for that, it's suited for that, it's good. So you already know that if there are any certification, so you could find someone who's certified in that framework, for instance. That would be a good starting point. So for instance, you want to develop in PHP, which is programming language for the web, and the framework, one of the most famous is Symfony, for instance. So you want to hire someone who knows Symfony. Symfony is over PHP. Symfony, they offer certifications. So if someone is certified as a Symfony developer at high-end stage, that's a good guy. Okay, so you already know that. And then it's common sense. If you're telling something to the guy and the guy is not able to deliver in an amount of time that you think is reasonable, let's change. The good news is that with this platform like Upwork, which is the merge of Elance and Odesk, there are a lot of resources. Very, very bad ones, a lot, but some pearls in the mud can be found. So you simply need to get into the mood of you're not going to hire people forever. Let's hire the guy. If he's not good, fire the guy, get a new one, fire the guy. Don't be afraid of firing until you get the good one, and then, get attached to the guy until the end, because finding a good person who develops and delivers it's very complicated. But it's a challenge. I understand your point that it's very challenging.
Thank you.
More questions?
Well, maybe I can answer on developers more. I mean, that's if you need to find a developer and you're not a developer, at least go into what these people really do, because usually people from business are just using you, just want to use you like somebody else, not understand what is your problem as a person. So developers are like people like any other, so you can't compete with the employer, like providing them that something that you can be useful for them for like more time or something. And trying to understand what they really do, well, that keeps you understand what they really like telling you. Sometimes people are lazy or something, they have some problems. You're probably more skilled in people like communications, you like more know about people than them, because this stuff is like hard technical stuff inside the computers. So you can augment, like collaborate with each other, so be useful to one or the others. And this advice like 50-50 is really good. It's you really need to consider that. So that's like,
yeah. What you want to have is alignment in objective. So if you're just paying the guy, then the guy might be good, it's fine. But if you really want alignment, you pay me something less the guy, but you pay in equity, a small amount, but still the guy knows that can become super rich if he delivers. So and maybe you can do some options here, like okay, I can pay you this amount of equity if you remain with us at least 2 years, and we get to a certain amount of evaluation of the company. So it's a way you have to think that he has motivation, the developer exactly like you, and the motivation is more or less the same, like getting rich. So if we are all in the same boat, are all in the same direction, we are all fine.